This is the story of growing the ferociously hot Scotch Bonnet chili from seed through its young stages of growth all the way to harvest. You're coming with me every step of the way in this video, but the story starts a very long way from the excitement of harvest, back in the cold days of early January in the polytunnel. I am braving the cold of the 2nd of January. It's about freezing, about -1, freezing outside. And I'm braving the cold because I am showing you the start of the journey as I start growing Scotch Bonnet chili. I'm going to take you with me every step of the way on this growing journey. The reason why this journey is starting on the 2nd of January is because that's when I just sow my chilies. And especially for the hotter varieties like Scotch Bonnet, Ghost chili, you need to sow the chilies quite early. This is really important to get the chilies to a mature stage by the end of the season. They're not quick growing. I would just suggest that if you're limited for indoor growing space, I would sow your chili seeds a bit later. I've got loads of space. So I am sowing my Scotch Bonnet seeds today on the 2nd of January. This is the start of the journey and I'm going to take you with me every step of the way. I'm sowing the Scotch Bonnet seeds into module trays. I'm going to sow one seed per module. I'm sowing into a good quality seedling compost, or you can use a good quality multi-purpose compost that's been finely sieved. One seed per cell, and then I'm just going to cover them lightly with growing medium. The seeds need to be kept warm, around 18 to 21 degrees Celsius, pretty funny. And I'm putting them under these grow lights just to really accelerate them. You're not going to get the natural light that you need in early January. So it's about 6 weeks after we sowed the Scotch Bonnets. You can see my Scotch Bonnets in the middle there. They have grown mad under the grow light. Look how well they've grown. These have grown under grow light. But it's actually time to just pop these on into 9cm pots. Now, we're not going too mad. I mean, we could pop them into a 1 litre pot. But we haven't got the room on the windowsill or under the grow light. So it's going to go into the 9cm pot initially. And this is what we're doing today. It's about 6 weeks after we sowed the seeds, and if you've got the room and the plants are big enough, they're established enough, that's about the right time to pop them on. So that's what we're doing today. It's February, guys. Feels more like May. Lovely in the tunnel. Let's do some potting. Just going to tease the plug out at the bottom of the plug tray. And you can see just how beautifully formed that is. Look at the root system on that, and that's a sign that it needs to be potted on. And what I like to do is pot it as deep as possible, so up to the first set of leaves. It's often easier if you fill the pot, just to empty it out first. Place the plug in the pot just so you can gauge the depth. Hold the leaves out of the way. And then just fill in the soil around it. Welcome to your new home, Scotch Bonnet. And it's going to be in there for quite a while because these guys cannot go outside until the risk of frost has passed. That's going to be different wherever you are in the world, but stay tuned for future videos where we will show you whether or not I'm right with the guess about where last frost is going to be where we are. Look at that. So little. It's now March the 31st. It's safe to say a lot warmer than it was when I last spoke directly to the camera about the chili plants. And I want to show you the update on the chilies, on their progress, because safe to say they've grown a lot. So here is the chilies. And I'm just going to take a moment just to explain how we've gotten to this point. So you saw us sowing the seeds back in the cold days of January, right? And we actually put these under grow lights because early in the season, light is at a premium. But you've got to strike a balance because we don't want, ironically, we don't want the plants to grow too much because you're going to run out of space and they're going to get big prematurely. Now, obviously, it depends on your situation. You might have loads of space where you can put the plants. But in our situation, we don't. And I'm sure many of you are the same, that you run out of windowsill space, right? When I say space, I don't just mean the height of the plant. I'm talking about the size of the pot, because already you can see the roots are coming out the bottom of that. the plant is starting to look a little bit sad because it's hungry for nutrients. It needs to be potted on into a bigger pot where it's going to dry out just that little bit less quickly, but also it's got more food, more good quality compost to really go out and to fuel its further growth. So this plant was under grow lights for the first few weeks and probably months of its life, and we weaned it off the grow lights very, very quickly. So we moved it onto a cold windowsill where it just grew more steadily, and kind of we held it back a little bit. And so that's the story of how we find ourselves at this point with a really, really mighty looking plant. What do we do now? Well, you need to pot the plant on. Now this is in a 9cm pot, and this is the pot that we transplanted the little plug that we grew the seed into a 9cm pot. It's lived there on the windowsill, it's grown, and we now need to put it into a bigger pot. Really, it just depends how much space you've got. These 9cm pots take up more room than the little plug tray, but they're still taking up less room than the 3 litre pot I'm going to put this in now. And 3 litre pot is about right for Scotch Bonnet. Obviously, if you want to grow it on into a much larger plant, you can put it straight into that bigger pot. But we are a little bit pushed for space. And so the plan is I'm going to pot these into 3 litre pot, and I'm going to put approximately half of them back on the windowsill, and then the other half are going to live out here in this cold, unheated polytunnel. And we're going to see how it does. The reason why I'm hesitating a little bit is because we don't know when the last frost is. And in a polytunnel like this, it could get too cold for these chilies. The weather looks fine for the next 2 weeks. So they've made the big move outside. Famous last words. Let's see how this goes. Just scroll ahead to the end of the video to see if I've got a sad face and they've all died in the cold, right? Now, I'm just using a good quality multi-purpose compost. This isn't anything special, to be honest. It is worth using a good quality, like a brand name that you recognise. And you want to pot the plant as deep as the lower leaves. I'll just show you that. Just deep to about there. And tease it out of the pot. And you're going to see exactly just how root bound this is. It's really quite significantly root bound. It's the same label we wrote back in January. How amazing is that? You're going to put it in the pot. It's a little bit too deep. And that looks about right to me. And then you're just going to fill around the plant, tucking it into its new home, as we always say. Now, the importance of using a good quality multi-purpose compost is that that's what the plant is going to feed on. But obviously you can add feed as well, I should say. But also it's going to control how well the plant drains. We're going to put that little label back in there, because that's going to travel with it the whole way. So to show you that is the same plant that we sowed from seed back in January. And now all I need to do is pot up the rest. And 4 of these are going to live in the tunnel out here, cold polytunnel, surrounded by all the herb plants that we grow for work. And we'll see how these do out here. And as an insurance policy, the other 4 are going to go into the conservatory that's a little bit warmer. 22nd of April, that is the chili plant in the conservatory. And it's quite well established in that pot. It's doing really, really well. Some fruits are appearing. I'm going to leave them here for a little bit longer. Just if your chili plants are indoors, just remember to keep watering them. There was a few aphids on the leaves. And isn't nature just incredible? That nature provides the challenges. And it also provides because a spider has built a spider's web and it's taken out all the aphids. How cool is that? So it's the 23rd of April, and the plants that are out in the polytunnel actually look very, very similar. They haven't suffered really at all for the cold. Not really too leggy either. And we've got some fruits coming. So actually there's been no ill effects for putting these plants outside. So it's the 1st of August, and it's time to give you an update because the Scotch Bonnets have exploded into growth. These are the Scotch Bonnets that you will have just seen me sow a few minutes ago. Wearing a jumper, freezing cold in January. And this is the reason why we sow them so early, by the way, because it means that by the time you get to late summer, they get absolutely covered in fruit. And it's a really good idea. I mean, I've probably let these sort of go a little bit too much, but it's a really good idea to actually pick them, you know, pretty much as soon as they're ready into my artisan basket. Yeah, pick them as soon as you can, really. The reason for that, you don't want to leave them on there for too long, sort of detracting from the rest of the crop. So you want to get more fruits coming through. And we're going to get a really good crop on these.
Okay.
And as you can see, we are getting a really, really decent crop. These are only in 3 litre pots. Really, I could have potted these up into larger pots. Now, a few interesting points of care here. I have been feeding these. I've been using a liquid tomato feed, which has just really kind of given it a little bit of a boost. I haven't been too precious in looking after these. These are literally the plants that you will have seen me move outside, gambling, taking a risk when it was still quite early, but they've grown really well in the tunnel. I'm not sure how I'm going to edit this video yet, but I'll show you the Scotch bonnets that we've got growing in our conservatory as well, because they are doing incredibly well. So as I say, I've been feeding these with a liquid feed. Honestly, I think you'll still get a good crop if you just left these in good quality growing medium. So that's the key. Use a really good quality growing medium, because the moisture levels are really important for these chilies. They don't want to be too wet, but obviously they don't want to dry out either. So off this one plant, you can see that I've got a really, really good crop and even more fruits to come, which is really cool. And magnify that by, you know, just how many plants you can actually see here. These actually need a drink, but I prefer to let the chili plants dry out a little bit. Just look how many fruits I'm getting off these few small plants. It's like a little artisan shopping basket. And it's really, really cool, this, because for me, growing chilies, it kind of links the beginning and the middle part of the growing season together. Notice I don't say the end, because I'm really passionate about promoting the fact that as these chilies carry on being cropped, they'll carry on being cropped until probably October time, depending on the growing conditions that we have. But this is a huge result, and I've deliberately left these in 2 litre pots. I've deliberately left them in these pots to show you that you can grow these chili plants in relatively small spaces. I think these look really good, and I'm going to enjoy making a lovely chili jam for Kate. What do you reckon? Would you like a chili jam using these?
As lovely as these look, probably not.
Oh, they do look lovely, to be fair.
Too hot for me, though.
Too hot. Too hot to handle. Now, the really important thing to update you with at this point in the video is I need to remember to wash my hands before taking out contact lenses.